crossing the threshold of 30 a little less scary in tennis now than it was 10 or 20 years ago?
I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know how to kind of try to rationalize what it was 10 or 20 years ago. It's not something I think about really.
The age of the top 10 players and all the players has gone up dramatically in the last 10 or 20 years.
I think the game's become a lot more physical. I think you have to be a fully grown human to deal with the kind of the ins and outs of the physical grind. And I think that's probably why you're seeing what you see now. I mean, you have to be able to kind of take a beating week in and week out, and it's not as much about shot making now as it is about kind of movement and that sort of thing.
Andy, we've just been talking to Ryan Williams, and he said he was sort of facing his game on your game with a big serve and a big forehand. What did you think about him today?
He hit about as many drop shots today as I've ever hit in my career. So, yeah, I mean, he has a good base. I mean, he can create something, and now it's just a matter of he's got to be a little bit quicker. If he, I've dealt with an average backhand for many years, and have had to learn how to kind of get around it a little bit and become a better mover later on. In my career, and so there's plenty of things, but I think it's if you can win 3 points off your serve, it's a good start.
Andy, what would you say the biggest differences are in the way that you played today versus when you won the championship here?
I think the game has changed a lot. You probably were able to get 2 feet under you and kind of launch into the ball a lot more then. I had a massive serve at 135, and this kid today was hitting him that big. So I mean, it's just I think the game's gotten significantly better since then.
What do you marvel at most about Roger's return to number one?
I was never off the Roger bandwagon. I wasn't. It was never. I'm not surprised to see him back there. It's not a story for me because he never stopped being the greatest. It's just a matter of who's got the hot hand. Novak was playing unbelievable last year. Roger was a little unfortunate in the match here last year and a couple others, but the fact that we can talk about his matches, kind of the negative ones, we can all remember every one of them is a good thing. So I mean, it's got to tell you something about him.
And you talked about after you lost to Roger in 2009, how you felt like that changed your public perception and with what Murray went through recently. I'm just wondering, do you feel like a loss can really change the way the public views you and also how you view yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think any sort of result, positive or negative on a big stage can. When their eyeballs on you, people form opinions. And I don't think that changes. I think you get a pretty good reading of someone in tough moments, and I can't really speak to Andy and what he's going through, but I felt I don't remember much about the post-match stuff from Wimbledon, but I guess people liked it back then, and I don't really remember much. It wasn't something that I was thinking about. I was kind of just reacting to what was in front of me, and maybe it was a different side.
Andy, one of the things that people don't know so much about you is the extraordinary grassroots work you do with your foundation. And you obviously were inspired by Lance a good while ago, and now there's been that development. It's been so much good work in the 7 Tour de France's and now this. Could you just share with us a little bit what your thoughts are on that?
Well, I think when you're talking about it, it's tough to talk about it as a whole with what he's done as far as positive versus what he's accused of doing from a negative side. I think you have to pick your side of the argument and then, have an opinion. I don't think you can have this kind of all-encompassing. I don't think it's that simple. Obviously, regardless of what may or may not have happened. I mean, I don't know anything more than you guys do, but he has done a lot of good. And hopefully that won't change because he's a pretty big symbol for a lot of people, and you know, it's almost bigger than his sport, what he's been able to accomplish with his foundation. So you hope that one doesn't rely on the other.
Do you think that the drug testing in our sport is important to maintain or should be changed in any way?
What do you mean change?
Well, either intensified or not have them knock on your door at 6 in the morning.
So you're suggesting both?
I'm asking you what your thoughts are.
I'm fine with it. I'm not always real thrilled when they show up at 5:30 in the morning, but I think it's necessary. It's certainly not convenient, and when you're trying to have dinner somewhere and they say come back now and you got to do it, and ours is probably better than any other sport. As far as what we have to be accountable for. I mean, we've had a couple guys get suspensions in this sport for stuff that every person buys at GNC or buys at Walgreens, Sudafed, so it's pretty intense. So I'd rather have it that way than kind of us sitting around being in that position of not knowing.
Andy, you talked before about your admiration for Serena, also for Venus, but what are your thoughts this summer on what Serena's been doing for Diamond?
Again, I have a hard time seeing how that's a new story. She's been great for a long time, and I still feel when she's playing her best tennis, throughout the course of her career, I feel like when she's been at her best, that no one's really challenged her, maybe with the exception of Justine for a little while. But you take Serena playing well, I think, against anybody in the field any day.
Would you agree with what Kim Clijsters said earlier in the tournament? She said that for her money, Serena was the best ever.
Well, it's tough to, I'm sure Steffi would argue that. It's tough to compare. If you're comparing their highest level at a given moment in a straight-up match, that's more of a conversation. But I'm not sure that Serena would sit here and tell you that you can compare 14 to 22 yet.
Andy, on the court, you talked about getting to the second week, as a birthday gift, joking around. But at this stage, I mean, is that a very acceptable result?
No, it's not. There's no acceptable result. You play your second round. You try to win your second round. You go as far as you want. Or as far as you can. I don't think we think of it in the context of what's acceptable and what's not. You play a match to try to win a match.
Andy, what are your thoughts on the future of men's tennis in America? Who are some of the guys that have really kind of impressed you, the young guys up and coming?
Well, as we said before, it's not always pointing towards the guys that are 18 and 19 now in tennis. Isner's impressed me this summer. He's only a couple of years younger than me, but he's coming into his own. So with that serve, and he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. He hasn't been out here for 10 or 12 years, so he should have, he should have 5, 6 good years left. And Sam's been playing better, so I've liked what I've seen from the guys that we know.
Before you came in, Milos Raonic was in here, and he said the thing that he admires most about Federer is the fluidity in his game. When you watch Roger, what is the thing that you appreciate most?
Yeah, fluidity is great. I respect the fact that he lost number one, he went back and got it. I mean, at a certain point, the way he's able to kind of come out here and be motivated day after being, he's beyond reproach. You can't really say anything bad about him, but he still wanted to get back there, and that's a pretty, it seems like he's never satisfied, and that's pretty respectable, especially after what he's accomplished.
Andy, you worked very hard, came out, obviously, big serve, big forehand early on, and then you worked really hard to add things to your game, to deal with the way the game was changing. Were you that kind of kid, meaning, were you the kind of kid who was always adjusting it, or did the game sort of force you into becoming a little bit different than?
No, the game completely changed, and I was able to kind of recognize it, and it's funny because the things that I feel like I get criticized for, I feel like kept me around more than a lot of my contemporaries. You know, more than, let's say, I came up with Marat and Ferrero and you know, a couple other guys. And obviously, everyone points to Roger, but we can all point to Roger all day. And if that's the comparison we're drawing, then we're going to end up with the stories we've had. But you know, it's you know, I saw the way the game was going. You have to get stronger and quicker. There wasn't. I don't think there was much room for a plotter who could hit the ball pretty hard. You know, so. It was a conscious effort at times, and I feel like that's added to longevity a little bit.
Andy, you've worked with a number of coaches in your career. When does the novelty and the excitement sort of wear off, and when do you sort of know you're in a stable relationship and you know what to expect from that person and what to get out of them and what they expect out of you?
I mean, I think you know pretty early on, to be honest. I mean, I've never thought of it, I guess, in terms of novelty. You know, I've been pretty forthright with my coaches. I mean, even if I haven't seen eye to eye to them, I think they would tell you that they knew what they were going to get out of me. You know, and it's just a matter of, I think each situation's different. You know, with all the coaches, I think it's tough to generalize personal relationships. You know.
Andy, how do you view a second round matchup with Bernard Tomic?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't played in a tournament before, but obviously he's been talked about for a while now, and he has a kind of very good feel for the game. You know, he's able to kind of repeat what he needs to do out there, and you know, it'll be tough.
Do you view him as a serious talent from what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, he's very talented. He's played well, and you know, I think now he's dealing with playing well on a consistent basis. I think that's the next step for him. So hopefully we can delay the process a week.
There's big raps on him, but you're winning tournaments on the ATP Tour when 16 or whatever, and he's yet to win one. He's around 20. So is that an evolution? What you're talking about, the evolution of the game?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it lends itself. I mean, you don't see a lot of guys, you know, like let's say Leighton, who was winning it at whatever it was, 15 or 16 now. You know, Rafa, I feel like was fully built when he was 17, but you know, beyond that, I feel like it takes a little while to develop, and you know, it's a physical nature, and I don't think kind of the age thing that we've been talking about the whole time. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Could you talk a little bit about your coach Larry and sort of what he brings and what his real strengths are, and what you appreciate